What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Still exists. This is everybody's favorite. We're here talking about
Still exist.
Andor Season 1, rewatching. Got a little sneak peek for who's with us. Michael B's in the house. We got Andy Mason as well. The Dream Team, Core 3, whatever you like to call it. We're missing us some Taylor B. We're missing us some Mikey D. But it is what it is, you know. We're assembling the dream team that we have available. So, welcome one and all. We're live, we're alive, and this is the show. How y'all doing? What's going on, everybody?
We're good. We're good.
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I think we're all in a holding pattern here, waiting for Andor Season 2. It's one of the few things that I remain just ravenously excited for in the Star Wars universe, but very, very excited to get into this with you guys. Rewatching this show is definitely a treat. Really, really love it. This music is very exciting. Makes me feel like we're on a proper podcast, you know?
I can't hear the music if you're hearing music.
I can't either.
Might just be you.
You can't?
Nope.
That's making me wonder if it was muted the whole time, because it was
No. We heard it in the beginning.
Clear.
It was coming
and then
through, but now
it just cut off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, hey, you know, it was a vibe there for a second. I was really having a good time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Well, hey, either way, music or no music, I mean, the music's done now. The music isn't the main attraction. You know, it's all of us hanging out talking about Star Wars. So here's what we're gonna do. The thumbnail says episode 4, 5, 6, and 7. We can speed run through that, talk about what we like, what we didn't like. But first and foremost, I know there's some stuff going on. Want to just chit chat about the news. You know, Star Wars Celebration is coming. Michael, try to get me excited about that. And then also we got some trailers too, for Tales of the Underworld. I thought of you, Andy, when that was going on. I pretty much exclusively thought of you because, again, I'll watch it because, you know, that's who I am, but not dying to watch this one. But what do you think? Talk about it.
I think they're doing a great job of bringing me back with Asajj Ventress content. I mean, I'm really hopeful, and I'm at attention. I'm locked in.
But what about Cad Bane? Are you excited for the other half of it?
I don't care about Cad.
It's so funny because I felt the same way. I love Cad Bane. I'm always arguing with you about how cool he is, right? But man, when I saw that, I was just like, I don't care. He's got a brother. Like, I don't want to
Stop trying to make Cad Bane a thing. He's not a thing.
I'm just like, God, man, do something new. Be inventive. Be fun.
I was surprised they didn't try to merge the style with the Book of Boba Fett a little bit more to make that not look as egregious as it is.
Yeah, I guess I'm glad they didn't in that respect.
That's
if you're going to bring him back, at least don't, you know, step on him more than Boba did in the Book of Boba Fett. Am I right? Spoilers. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm fairly excited for it. I think the Venture stuff will be interesting. I'm intrigued to see who the Force user is that they've, you know, kind of teased. And then just continue to see how they plan to square the circle of Dark Disciple, you know, because they've indicated that they will.
Yes.
So let's see.
Because how did she live? I feel like they're too cowardly to bring it back, like give us what we really want, which is like flashbacks with Quinlan and stuff, or like parts of the book on screen. Like that would hit spot. But like I said,
how about where we know they're going? Like Quinlan is doing the whole what's the path of the path, right?
Yeah.
And like Ventress could be part of that. Ventress and Quinlan could like together be part of preserving the Jedi through the Inquisition. And that would be great. But no.
They go to the the Garden of Eden from Jedi Survivor too.
Oh, is that where is that how that's going to work?
I mean, I don't know. They've got that dangling thread there until the next game comes out and Darth Vader goes.
Is it the Garden of Eden, or is it basically just Treasure Planet?
Okay. I thought, yeah. I didn't know if you were going in the direction of another metaphor. I was like, don't fact check me. I'm joking here. and then you made another joke. I was like, oh, okay, we're good. Because Star Wars does that sometimes, where they'll take real world things that like the Angels of Iago or whatever the hell.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's what I thought was going on. Nope. No, I'm intrigued again, but that's just kind of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff. Andor's really it for me right now. I'm very just kind of out. I will say, very excited to go rewatch episode 3 in the theater. That's going to be fun. That's coming right up, right? Isn't it next weekend?
Is it?
I think so. Can somebody Google that while we're yapping here? I think
I'm on it.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it is. But 24? Okay.
Yeah, I've got it 24.
Okay.
Through,
it's at least
30th.
going through the 30th. Yeah.
Yep.
24 through the 30th. Okay, that's okay.
Ooh,
yeah,
I
that's
probably
fun.
will not end up seeing it unless I end up with a friend local that wants to see it. I haven't seen
crazy.
any. Well, for one, I have actually seen that one in theaters, probably several times. But Hannah doesn't like episode 3. It'd be worth getting her on here to talk about it. It's not because it's episode 3. Like, she actually doesn't dislike the content. It's because it's basically one of my favorites and one of my favorites to watch and put on. And so to her, she's just seen it way too many times. So she just doesn't like it as much. I've worn it out.
Yeah, we should have had her on to say that.
Yeah.
Michael made me sick and tired of it.
I mean, she basically would. Yeah, she would agree. Yeah, it's true.
That's funny.
It's my fault for sure.
That's at least a take that, I can understand. I thought it would have been a more qualitative thing as opposed to
well, she also doesn't like that it's just a sad and depressing movie, which I think is actually something that most people who watch it miss. They just get hyped up on Star Wars and it's cool and battles and stuff and forget it's actually kind of a depressing, sad story. It's just a tragic story.
No,
the way it ends.
I love
and there's slaughtering
children
movies.
And stuff.
Okay.
That's what I love about it.
No, I mean, we talk about this a lot with Star Wars, where you're exactly right, Michael. There's a lot of people that just do not get what's going on. And, I think when you stop to think about it, yeah, it's very depressing. And even a lot of those people get it. But then when you really, really get it, it's yeah, this is horrifying. This is the dismantling of a government that has been in power for 25,000 years. This is the upheaval of millennia of society and a religion that's basically wiped off the face of the earth, and countless children and genocide and all of it. And you're just oh, but Grievous did. But he
does the thing. But the whole movie is memes. Everybody memes every line of that movie. So
yeah, they really did a good job. But again, that's what we were at the time. We were kids, and it was awesome. I mean, it was everything.
True.
And it's great. I'm very excited to rewatch it and hopefully reinvigorate and feel a little bit of that joy. That'd be a lot of fun. But
Ed
more
just
than
wants
likely
to feel something.
a little bit, no doubt. Yep. Andor is feeling more and more like a documentary, so it's a good time. It's a good time. All right. Speaking of, no, we were talking about Celebration. What else do you think? What do you know about, Michael, that they're going to announce or talk about? Have you seen any buzz or anything like that? What's going on? It's in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, it's in Tokyo, dude. I wanted to go. If there was a time to go to Star Wars Celebration, man, this was it.
Again? I thought it was in a different place every year.
It is, but it's in Tokyo this year. Was it in Tokyo before?
I thought it was in Japan.
It was in Tokyo previously, but I feel like it wasn't there last year, unless I'm totally bonkers.
Either way, maybe this was the last year to go, and also so was last year. I'm looking through the things. There's a galaxy within reach. What Star Wars teaches us about mental health, inclusion, and belonging. That's a panel. And then there's 8 panels on Andor. There's Mandalorian and Grogu streamed from stage.
Okay.
I don't know what that entails, but there's some sort of spoiler, I guess, for the Mandalorian and Grogu. So there's like several sections there. A lot of cool stuff with like 501st and costuming guilds and kid stuff.
Star
Saber
Wars
Guild kids
Celebration,
lightsaber
from
training.
everything that I've heard, Star Wars Celebration, it is invariably a blast if you're there, right? So I don't doubt that for a second. My whole thing is like from a news perspective, or like new things that are coming,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and I'm just not sure that. I don't know. Hey, you
Ahsoka's
know,
Underworld.
I wasn't expecting the revival of the Clone Wars when they had that retrospective panel either. So that was, I'll still always.
It's hard to tell, right? From all the panels, like there's a panel on everything. There's a panel for Ahsoka. There's a panel for Andor. There's a panel for all the things we know about. I'm not seeing titles of something that we didn't know was going to happen, but that doesn't mean that anything interesting couldn't happen at any one of these and things couldn't be announced. There's a publishing section for like new Star Wars stories, it looks like.
That would be neat because, I mean,
So-
outside of the Alexander Freed stuff, they don't really have a whole lot of irons in the fire. They're wrapping up the High Republic.
The Acolyte books are in there somewhere. There's like
Yeah,
2
that's
Acolyte
true.
books.
That's true.
Would
Yeah.
love to see, like, if we're just talking about things we'd love to see, I'd love to see some crazy surprise, hey, Acolyte season 2 might actually happen sort of stuff, because the
That would
cast
be
is all
cool.
there.
That would be cool. You know what was interesting about the Acolyte? I was playing a show yesterday, and I was sitting and talking with people, and it came up that I have this show as well, and you know, and he said, "You guys have."
It's like a CrossFitter can't not talk about the fact that he has a podcast.
Oh, I have a wife who loves me and just can't stop talking about. I was just like, okay, no, but no, I really, she's super sweet, and it was a lot of fun. But so, you know, it's this meme of, oh, you like Star Wars? He's a white guy with a podcast. You got to hear about it. So yeah, so we were talking about it, and I kind of made the self-deprecating joke of like, we have no audience, you know. And he said, oh, really? And I was like, oh, we got a little traction when the Acolyte was going on, and then immediately this gentleman just goes like, oh, and so I'm just kind of like, well, that was what we were talking about, because I actually kind of liked it, you know. Like,
I would have said, ugh, I know, so frustrating that we don't get another season, right?
Yeah. Well, so that was where I was going. Was I was like, oh, so did you watch it? And he was like, no, I didn't. I was like, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to beat him up or anything. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know the guy like that, and he seemed like a really lovely guy. But in my head, I'm just like, that's why I'm so angry. That's why I'm so mad. It was a perfect encapsulation. Just like the complete confidence, like, oh. So yeah, no, I don't watch it. I just, you know, and he didn't, again, he did not strike me as the type of person to read, you know, to judge their media consumption based off of what the Babylon Bee thinks about something. You know what I mean? So it was just, I was just like, how did this so completely trickle down to you to where you know that it sucks and you assume that I'm gonna think it sucks before? I don't know. It was funny. It was just a constant reminder of why I am tired.
And speaking of things that may or may not suck,
yeah,
depending on your perspective, the third day of Star Wars Celebration, there's a bunch of panels on Star Wars Visions Volume 3.
Hey,
that's a thing that
I don't,
didn't know people asked for.
I don't be yucking people's yum. I hope they love it. I hope they love it.
I have never met somebody who liked that, but good for them. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
It's just wild to me. I wonder if the costs are just so low of basically allowing other animation studios to make non-canon stories that they just don't care. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's probably just
maybe
more or
there's one
less
that's
a
a hit,
freebie.
and you know, people will watch it just because it's Star Wars, and so just go for it.
It's kind of, you know what it reminds me of is when you're in Walmart, and this might be a very unique experience. I don't know if anyone will follow me on this, but when you're in Walmart, well, Michael definitely won't. I know that.
Oh, come on. I was in Walmart just yesterday.
Pretend you're in Walmart and you see those CDs where they have, like, you know, the best of Motley Crue, and you think it's the best of Motley Crue, and then you flip it around and it's like just a who's who of random has-beens from different bands singing covers, or you got a live bootleg version of their songs or whatever, and it's very clearly this like super cynical cash grab to just throw a project together, because again, it'll cost the
Sounds like
company,
kind
the
of thing
record
that
label,
my
like
grandma
nothing.
would buy
Yeah, and it's like,
without
here, here's
reading
your
any more information on it. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't know if that's relatable to anybody, but that's something that happens all the time, and I feel like that's what Star Wars Visions is to me. But
Workforces.
you know, is what it is.
There's a panel on the Fett family. That's kind of cool. That could be interesting.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Be a fun watch.
Droids, artificial intelligence, and sentience. That's the kind of thing
I'm into that. I'm into that one for sure.
I'd be there.
Yeah.
50 years of ILM. That could be a cool one. We could get some cool demos of like new lightsabers and robots and stuff for ILM. An ode to Starlight High Republic panel. Yes.
That'd be cool.
They're screening the Siege of Mandalore and the Star Wars Rebels finale at different times, which is cool.
That's fun. Again, if you're there.
Let's see. Yeah, right. Closing ceremony. Yeah. Of Sith and no, there's like 8 different costume club stuff. So yeah, I'm the Dad Batch podcast. What? I don't know.
That's a good name.
How the young Indiana Jones Chronicles paved the way for the Star Wars prequels.
Dude, I swear I hate the cross-pollination of Lucasfilm when they're like when at Star Wars Celebration they just stopped everything to promote the hell out of Willow. And, you know, and it's just like, all right, the same with Indiana Jones. We're like, I get that there's a lot of cross-pollination, but
yeah,
I'm here for the Star Wars. I don't know.
Listen, it's just one panel. Like, you know, you don't have to go to it. It's also at 4:30 on a Saturday, and none of the other shows or days have stuff that late, it looks like. So there's some cool, interesting, like specific to Japan things about like art and things in Star Wars. But yeah,
I was
anyway.
I was totally confused that Star Wars Celebration had not recently happened in Japan. I think I'm just remembering hearing that it was going to be held in Japan. And I was like, oh, I can't, you know, that's not possible. And now that's happening, I'm like, what? Again? I have to be disappointed again? No.
I got nothing else in terms of just
when they
like
keep killing Ventress to bring her back so they can kill her again.
Don't you dare.
Well, that's what I'm hoping from this show, that we get some explanation there, because the side comment about like her, okay, so her species are cats with multiple lives now. That's it. That's what we got. Despite the fact that like all of the rest of her species seem to die once pretty fine.
All's fair in love and reincarnation, baby.
Right. Yeah. I would really love for that particular thread to be, you know, complete thread. Ironic. People just maintained that they didn't retcon her death, and it gets very frustrating. Like, I'm not saying it's a big deal. Like, they can do that, but you can't ignore that it was a retcon. She literally dies in the book. There is no insinuation or suggestion she's coming back. It actually kind of is a Disney quick, you know, fast pull, whatever, that like, oh, we're going to undo the dramatic, you know, consequences of our story by bringing people back from the dead. It happens a lot, and we got to like own up to the fact that that's what's happening. I will let them explain it and accept it when it happens, but please just actually do that and don't just ignore things that happen in the book.
Exactly.
Series.
Yeah.
They might have found a loophole just to shut us up. They're like, don't worry, it's gonna align, okay?
What, she's just only mostly dead? Loophole.
And then time just passes and they never explain it.
Just some Black Mirror stuff, right? Like essence transfer, you know, cloning.
If that's Black Mirror stuff, that started with
sorcery. Only the
EU,
Sith knew.
Didn't that start with the EU essence transference and
Darth Bane. Yep.
Oh, well,
that's why again that was
started, but that was started way before
earlier.
Bane.
That was earlier than that. Yeah, but that
Palpatine did that. That was the whole deal.
Mm-hmm. Dark Empire and all.
I had this game. I think we got it from a garage sale. It was like a choose your own adventure Star Wars game. And it was like a role playing game where you had equipment, you had lightsabers and guns and all sorts of things that had stats. and you would like equip your character as you went on adventures with Luke and Leia and the gang, and the books would lead into each other, and you'd have like a stat sheet you would maintain. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew how to play it as a kid, didn't really care, but I tried reading some of the stories a few times, and definitely like tossed the book away as soon as I realized they brought Palpatine back. I was like, nope, I'm out. This isn't real. This isn't canon. 8-year-old Michael, like, nope, this is wrong. Didn't happen. It's not in the movies. It didn't happen. It's not in the movie. It didn't happen. Don't care. But the concept was cool. I'll post it
That's
in the
the way.
live chat.
Honestly, that's the way I was with Thrawn, because I kept seeing stuff. I'm like, what is all this stuff? The Empire lost, and he's blue. What's going on? This is crazy.
And then they do it well, except in the
It's
case of Palpatine coming back.
Again, just the audacity to be like, this fake thing isn't believable as my other fake thing. It's so funny. Ugh, to be a child. Anyway, all right. Andor time. Let's get into it. So if you recall from nigh on a month ago when we were here last, we did the intro and we talked about those episodes where, he meets Luthen, he goes through the whole thing and ends up becoming convinced to do this job, right? To take a job with Luthen Rail. And that's where we find ourselves. Episode 4 is called Aldani. I'm pulling up the handy-dandy Wikipedia here. Luthen takes Cassian to the planet Aldani, asking him to join a robbery mission there. Cassian is reluctant, but eventually agrees. Luthen asks him to use a pseudonym amongst the rebels. Cassian chooses Clem. Vel, the rebel group's leader, introduces him to the rest of the group, but keeps Luthen's involvement a secret. They explain to Cassian that they plan on stealing the payroll of an Imperial sector with a key Imperial supply hub, taking the advantage of a rare natural phenomenon in Aldani's sky to escape since their getaway vehicle is very slow. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Luthen, posing as an antiques dealer, meets with Senator Mon Mothma, who I totally forgot isn't in the first 3 episodes, or at least not in any meaningful way if I'm forgetting her. But meets with Senator Mon Mothma, and they discuss the challenges in keeping their opposition to the Empire hidden. Cyril Karn goes to live with his mother, who is delightful, after being castigated and fired. The Imperial Security Bureau Lieutenant Dedra Miro seeks access and authority over the Ferrix incident, but is opposed by a colleague and a senior officer. Very hard to girl boss in the ISB. So we can go through that and take as much or as little time as we want. Let's do character by character. I think that'll cover a lot of the bases here. Let's talk about Andor's journey first. Any thoughts, feelings, vibes that you guys want to discuss rewatching Andor go through this whole thing? Okay, great. I'll go. It was it was very interesting to see. I think all the varying levels of distrust. I think it was awesome to see Vel be very uncomfortable and Luthen force her hand to be like, no, you're dealing with this. This is going to happen. Just accept it. And then she immediately had to force it on everyone else, right? And they would all argue with her. And, from everyone else's point of view, Luthen couldn't be mentioned. No one could know who he was, right? So it was always the plan and all this sort of stuff. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think it comes in a little bit later. But getting to watch Cassian see all the different types of people and how he wants to identify with each one, right? He sees like Skeen, and he sees that as sort of a end state of where he is if he stays on his current path, right? And he's like, well, that's gross. I don't want to be that guy. But then he also sees Nemec, who's he's clearly way too idealistic for someone like Cassian. So I don't know. It was really, really beautiful to watch all of those interactions. And again, that's just the thing I love so much about this show. It's just the complexity of each character, how there's not good guys, bad guys, even though there are, but just all the ways each character has such complex writing where all their motivations are made clear, again, with just simple scalpel level of efficiency lines of dialogue, right? Particularly with Cinta and Vel. I think their relationship was one of my favorites to see because it was such little screen time, but there was so much emotion in it. How like, yeah, we'll we'll be together. We'll do what we can, right? But the rebellion always comes first, and we get what's left. And then, of course, Vel uses that as a dagger on Mon Mothma later. But it was just really, really cool to see all those different characters and all their interactions. Anyone else have anything they want to say, or you want me to just keep going?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, enjoying, like you said, the complexity of the characters and how this show, like, what they reveal and what they don't, again, through dialogue and dialogue choices. I remember watching and being kind of overwhelmed as someone who wants to, like, I want to keep track of everything. So I'm thinking there's too many characters. There's this planet and this planet, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad I got to a point where it's just like, let it happen, because it's gonna be revealed everything you actually need to know. Like, their freaking names. I can't remember any of their names. I got their names pulled up just in case I need them. But it's like you kind of learn what you need to know.
Yeah. No, I again, each one of these characters, I forget some of their names too. I think Skeen and Nemec is, Nemec is locked in for me, but I can't remember the sergeant's name, the former stormtrooper. I think Lieutenant Gorn is the other guy who's in the garrison. But no, I mean, it was just they're all such really interesting characters, and I loved all their interactions. And all the different ways they're brought to the rebellion, right? Like, Vel is this spoiled rich girl, and Cinta's clearly been through it, like aggressively so. Skeen is a scumbag, right? It kind of reminds us of the Alexander Freed book, I think Twilight Company, right, Michael? Where just you had all the different types of people in the rebellion. Very, very cool stuff. Loved every freaking bit of it. It was awesome. What about you, Michael? You have anything you want to say about this side of
I
things?
think both watching it the first time and then rewatching it, I feel like this episode is the point when you get sort of locked in, which is sort of unfortunate because as interesting as the stuff that happened in the beginning and that third episode was like very action packed, I feel like the planet Ferrix is not super. It's really interesting in light of everything else in the show, but it does feel kind of like another Tatooine at first when you're watching. It's very safe. This is kind of still Star Wars kind of stuff, even though it can struggle to feel like we're even watching Star Wars because you don't have stormtroopers at this point, and it's the core security stuff.
That's
and
what I was gonna push back a little
Cremor
bit, yeah.
and all this. Like, it has this kind of 50-50 lukewarm kind of like, is this Star Wars or whatever? And then you get to this and you're like, oh no, okay, here's the ISB. We're doing all of this, and then now the rebels. But like Andy, you said, there's so much happening. You don't know all the names. You lose track of the planet. You're like, oh my gosh, we're in a completely different. We're in space Scotland now. Like, what's going on? And then you just get rapid fire introduced to all these people, and the way that they don't. Some shows will leave the audience knowing more than the characters, but this show doesn't do that. This show lets you know you actually know less than each of the characters on their own, and all of them combined still don't really help you out a lot. So it's really interesting, like you said, where you want to try to pick up on all these details, and you're like, I can't follow all this stuff, and eventually you just kind of have to let it go, and it just kind of takes you on a ride. And then interestingly, especially the Ferric stuff, you come back at the end of the series and like, oh my gosh, that random kid in the garage was really important.
Yes,
I
that's it.
didn't even clock him. Like, I've seen this guy before, right? Or the guy who was running balloons.
Balloon.
Like the guy who was running the junk shop with the ship and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy was actually important. I probably should have paid more attention, but you try and there's just too much.
No, but and that's the beautiful thing about it is, there's so much there on Rewatch. You can go back through, and that's the beautiful thing of shows like this, where it's layered, where you don't have to, right? You don't have to enjoy it. You talk about those first 3 episodes and how there's like maybe they're boring almost, right? But it's like, if you can get through them, which again I think it's not that hard of a slog to get through them, and then once you get hooked on the first view. Then you go back through, once you've seen the finale, if you can't enjoy those first 3 episodes after watching the finale, I can't help you. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Some of this, I wonder if it is, like, I think it's 50-50 Tony Gilroy's skill and also just sort of an incidental fact of how the show was made. So he talked about in an interview recently how the show was supposed to be a lot longer, It was supposed to have more seasons, and that was originally Disney's plan. And he started getting into it. They built Ferrex, they did all the design, and they started getting into the story. And he's like, I can't do this. I can't do this for 6 seasons. This is too much. It's it's so much to go through, and the story was so good, but like as he was making it, it just sort of took on a pacing. And he's like, I can't keep this pacing up for this many seasons. We're gonna get through the story. How did two seasons sound? And they're like, okay, great, just do 2.
Yeah.
So but
I'm
I
so
wonder how much
glad
of that
because
sort of
Disney
incidental.
would have canceled this. They would, they would like 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Wow, we can't. Nobody watch
If
it.
they
Let's
didn't
kill
approve
it.
the 2 in the first place, yeah.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. What a genius move on his part to take a bad decision out of their hands.
Yeah.
I mean, a potential
Either
bad
way,
decision.
like I said, I don't know if it's like 50-50, just his skill, but also just the incidental fact of how it ended up being made, that like it has this breakneck pace, and yet it's also so slow. Like people constantly complain the show is slow, but I think it's because they just don't realize how much it's throwing at you. People think that they're like, oh, I just don't know Star Wars, so I don't know what these things are and what's happening. And you don't realize, like, no, nobody knows what any of it. No, nobody understands
Right.
any of this. We all have no idea who Luthen is. We have no idea where Ferrex is or what Aldani is. We're all with you. We're all lost. We have no idea. And we're all
And it's
just
all
along for
new,
this
and it
ride.
all just maps so well. I mean, it's great. We're gonna get into the eye in the future episodes, but I mean, just like learning about the planet, right? Just seeing, I think they meet Lieutenant Gorn in this episode, if I'm not mistaken, and so just all the varying interactions there as far as, do we trust this guy, do we not, and if there's no choice, we got to do it or we got to call it all off anyway. Like one of the things people were talking about, I think it was the Drew Gooden video I made you all watch before, just like the relative competence of everybody involved here, right? Like we can shift gears now to talk about Dedra and the ISB. I mean, you get to see everyone in there is doing a good job. There's some levels of incompetence, but that is as a result of bureaucracy. But even then, you have people that are working to circumvent it. Like, a major part of Gaz is not one to be, just a slave to how things are. He's willing to change and adapt. Andy, what did you think of Dedra watching this through? Did you feel any sense of kinship with her in these first few episodes, or not?
Not particularly.
Yeah. No, because I mean, she's clearly meant to be someone that you empathize with to a degree, especially dealing with being overlooked and this, that, and the third. And so I did a little. Again, I
Yeah.
remembered the whole time she's the Gestapo, so it didn't only went so far. But there was a lot of folks talking about how they really started to hate her. They realized they were duped when she put the headphones on Bix later on, right? They see what she's capable of. But yeah, it was really funny. I was watching it with Lauren, and she was just like, yeah, no, I never feel empathy for a white Nazi. No, it's fine. I was like, all right.
Good.
I was like, yeah, okay, oh yeah, cook. It was
Fair
funny.
enough.
Yeah, right. It's just so funny. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, I enjoyed. I liked the ISB stuff too, because again, we see so many bumbling idiots, and I think of like season 1 of Rebels, where all the bad guys are so goofy, and it's just like, how does this? I get that incompetence has to exist in every regime, because it does, but at some level, it's gotta evaporate. They wouldn't have made it to that level without being some level of baseline competent, right? So yeah, really, really cool. What'd you guys think of Mon Mothma?
Love. Well,
Yeah.
love.
Okay. Love-ish. Talk about it. Talk about her. Talk about Perrin. Talk about any part of it you like.
Yeah, the stuff with her daughter makes me sad.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to you about it the first go around. But just seeing how that unfolds with the guy. I don't know the names, man. This
It's
show.
okay. Well, who? Do you mean like the Chandrillan finance guy? or
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the yeah, Davin Skolno or whatever the hell his name was, the scumbag, right? The mafia looking guy who,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The jerk. But
yeah,
yeah, seeing mother-daughter relationships on TV is always crazy. And but there's a quote I love. The daughter says, "I did not induce this conversation." That made me laugh. Um, love her, but it hurts. It hurts to watch that relationship and just kind of seeing sacrifices that are hard to imagine as a
yeah.
parent and just kind of icky. So love Mon Mothma because slay, like she looks
Mm,
so great in literally every scene. Queen. Um,
mm-hmm.
you're muted, Michael,
You're
but I
muted,
bet it's
Yeah,
brother.
sorry.
fire.
Yeah, the outfits for Mon Mothma, all the Chandrillans, but like especially Mon Mothma, so amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
the opulence and everything. It's great. Yeah, very
yeah.
cool.
But also icky.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. It feeds into what Luthen ends up saying later, but I think you can apply it to just about everybody in the rebellion. Like, you sacrifice so many things in a pursuit of a goal. Because again, this is something that'll come up later on. We talk more about Nemec, but like Nemec didn't sacrifice much in pursuit of a goal. He is the most ideologically pure one of all of them, and he gets taken out. It's like it's hard. It's hard to survive, and it was just a freak thing that happened. That's why I love this show so much, man. It's just like Nemec is main character energy for sure. Like Nemec would make it all the way through in most other shows, and so for him to just get just whacked again, not in even a meaningful way, just get freaking crunched. And again, I'm jumping ahead, but man, I love the way this show is so brutally realistic, and it's awesome. I enjoyed Mon Mothma quite a bit. I really loved Luthen's shop, getting to see the way, like, this man has kept up so many personas. Like, who is the real Luthen? We don't know. Is it the Coruscant guy that picked up a dark side, or is it the dark side that put on the wig? Who knows? But he's so good at what he does. I think we see Saw in these episodes as well at one point, and just their dynamic, their interaction was awesome. Just to see the way Luthen is always playing chess. It's really, really neat. And it just, again, shows the complexities to lead a rebellion, to resist an authoritarian regime like the Empire. Like, we watch episode 4 and we're just like, yeah, the good guys, Jedi, light wins. And it's like, how does that happen? There were probably people working at Subway on the freaking Death Star. You know what I mean? Like there's a Subway in that place, and so it's brutal, and there's brutality involved, and there's considerations all across. You have something to say, Michael?
I was thinking of the shoot, what are the robot chicken?
Robot chicken. Yeah.
Yeah. More serious. Did you finish the
Yeah.
Mask of Fear?
No, I'm still working through it. I think I've got
Damn it.
about a third of it left, but no, the Mon Mothma stuff in that book is really, really cool. That's what I think you were. Go ahead.
Did you get to the point where she's being interrogated?
No, she's talking about her.
Okay, because she's like, she talks about how she was interrogated immediately after the events of episode 3, and that was sort of an interesting aspect too. It's not major spoilers. It's pretty, like,
yeah, like they pulled everyone into a room,
but yeah, okay. So she gets questioned later on at some point, and that whole conversation really, really plays into who she is by the time we find her in this episode. Because
that book is awesome so far.
I talked about how it's hard to reconcile that, like, she and Bail Organa are not the same person for me. Like, obviously they're not, but it's weird to see them in that book at such odds with one another.
Yes.
And they sort of talk about how, yes, they were on the same side, but like realistically, they were two sides of a coin being held together by Padme. And without Padme there, they don't really have the glue anymore. And so it's weird because we always see them and have them in the context of the rebellion, but this is way pre-rebellion. This is like almost 20 years pre-rebellion. That book is, and it's so interesting to see what sacrifices she makes, and I'm not going to say what it is, but what sacrifices she makes to get to the point where she is even just here. And then further on, we see her making the sacrifices like with her daughter. Although that one's interesting to me too, Andy, because I agree, watching her relationship with her daughter and with her husband is like super uncomfortable at first. The book kind of helps explain the relationship with her and her husband and how they sort of have these ebbs and flows because they were an arranged marriage and they did love each other, and they kind of have fallen in and out of love with each other, but they have a mutually beneficial relationship, so they stay together. And like, sometimes they do actually like each other and sometimes they don't. And clearly at this point in the show, we're seeing a time when they are not really on the same page. They're not really close as a couple, but it's even worse to see like the daughter adding to that dynamics, to those dynamics in the middle there. And it's also wild to see that the sacrifice that Mon Mothma makes later on to potentially subject her daughter to the same kind of relationship that she's had with her husband, also helps her relationship with her daughter, because her daughter seems very happy and excited about
it's
that.
weird because
It'll be interested to see. She wants it, and so she's like, the fact that she's allowing her daughter to do this thing that she thinks and knows is bad for her is also what makes her daughter really happy. And so, that is deep. That is a deep commentary.
I don't mean to step on you, Andy. If you got something to say, it's more important. Go for it. But if you don't, I can cook.
It's great. It's a super, I don't know, like I said, at times icky and uncomfortable watch, but interesting in parenting, how like you have no choice but to look at the world through your own lens of your own experiences, and the lengths to which you'll go to shield your children from pain you perceive, or grief or discomfort that you perceive they'll go through. But like at the end of the day, they are their own people entirely who will not live your life. They'll live something completely different. It's fascinating.
And like the pendulum effect of some of this stuff, like how Mon Mothma's fighting to reverse some of these old archaic traditions and all this stuff, but the counter cultural inclinations that her daughter has, she takes out on her mom's own progressivism, right? And it's so weird to be like, F you, Mom, I want an arranged marriage. It's just
like, what do I do with this?
What the hell? Oh, man, it's just, it's crazy. It's like the whole thing of like, my parents were hippies, that's why I'm listening to Rush Limbaugh or whatever, It's just like, it's weird. It's a weird thing, but it definitely can happen. It does happen. And again, just bravo to this show to have so many freaking fascinating things to chew on, right? Like, again, this is just the first episode, so let's keep moving through, and we'll talk about more characters and more interactions. Excuse me. The next episode is The Axe Forgets, which great writing. Oh my gosh. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Like, wow. That is crazy good.
Is that an original quote? I feel like that's something that has been said before.
If it's, I think it's, throw it in Google, see if we can find it. See if we can find it anywhere else. Because it kind of reminds me of that comedian who made a whole bit about, he who worries dies twice. Talking about how that was like this super deep quote that they thought was like Winston Churchill or something like that, but apparently it was Harry Potter.
It's an African proverb.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good for...
good job, Ed.
What? I said look it up. I didn't say you were wrong.
It's from Zimbabwe, potentially.
Yeah. Disney's got a long and storied history of taking things from Zimbabwe and making a lot of money off of it. Hakuna Matata, bitch. Let's go. God, it's funny. Thanks for taking us down that rabbit hole, because now we know, the more you know. But yeah, now while I'm reading the synopsis, look up and see if he who worries dies twice was actually only from Harry Potter. Because if that was an African proverb as well, that would be pretty cool. Anyway, Clem hides his past from his fellow rebels and is met with distrust from most of them, particularly Skeen. Tamarin, who is the stormtrooper, trains Cassian and the other rebels for the planned heist. While traveling to the Aldani Imperial garrison, Cassian reveals that he's a mercenary. Vel decides to continue with the mission and hold off on dealing with Clem's past until they have achieved their objectives. Interested to talk with you guys about him revealing that, like just again, the intricacies there. It was really cool what he did or did not reveal. But Imperial officer and double agent Lieutenant Gorn covertly aids the rebels. And then we cut back to Coruscant, where Cyril Karn discovers new career prospects with his mother. We still got to talk about Cyril at some point. Mon Mothma establishes a new charitable foundation while maintaining increasingly tense relations with her husband and her daughter. ISB supervisor Blevin seizes a hotel as the new ISB headquarters on Ferrix, and his rival Miro and her assistant reach the conclusion that rebels are conducting a series of coordinated heists of Imperial weapons and technology. Luthen anxiously waits for a transmission from Vel. Okay. Let's talk about Cyril. I don't think we need to spend too much time on him. Let's talk about him across these 3 episodes. What do you guys think about Cyril? Anything stick out once you see any perspectives on him change once you see his home life, or no? Are we still just in the F this guy category?
I mean, as far as people I don't have sympathy for or empathy for, I think I have empathy for him the least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 He's okay. What I hold on. What Andor sees in Skeen is what I see in in, in Cyril Karn. Where I'm just like, oh man, dark side Ed for sure. That's funny. Travis,
Hello,
what's up, brother?
Travis.
How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, he thought Mother of Pearl was from SpongeBob. It's funny. We should. I don't know. There's probably a good handful of those things where you think something is a lot more profound than it is. I used to have that with cover songs a lot. I was like, why does everybody sleep on this really good song that's tucked at the back end of the greatest hits album of this band? It's like, yeah, because they didn't freaking write it, dingus. I don't know who this Glee cast is, but they're putting out some bangers, man.
So multifaceted.
I know. Everybody's sleeping on Glee class. All right.
Here in Tucson, there is a lawyer, Rafi, and he has pumped so much money into advertising because he has billboards, benches, like signs on buses. Rafi is everywhere, and my kids thought that he was the president or he was running for president.
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
That's
yeah,
very
so one of
funny.
those
That's what
we
I call
infer.
effective advertising. There you go.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
call Rafi.
That's funny.
That's funny as hell. Yeah, so again, we don't have to spend much time talking about Cyril. Doesn't seem like
I don't
there's
know.
a deep mind there.
I think Cyril's so interesting because he could be a rebel. He is as driven for his cause as the rebels are for theirs, but he's just on the wrong side. Like he is a believer in the security and safety and peace and prosperity, all air quotes, that the Empire brings, and he legitimately sees the rebels as terrorists. He sees Andor as a criminal, which
Mm-hmm.
he is. He did kill some people,
Yeah.
regardless of
Yeah.
justification.
Yep.
He gets sucked into this bad thing, and he just keeps doubling down, which is kind of exactly what Andor is doing. He's a really interesting mirror to Andor. It's just because he's on the wrong side and because he's not winning, he looks a little bit more pathetic. He's a little bit sadder to watch, even though again he's just as justified in his own mind as Andor ever was in his. In fact, he's more driven to a cause than Andor is until the end of this series. Andor doesn't really care. He's just trying to make a buck to get, to take care of him and his. He doesn't really care
I
about a
get.
lot of it. Maybe until the end of the Aldani arc. Maybe there's some more caring there, but then he still kind of just tries to disappear. He still goes and talks to his mom,
Yeah.
and she's like, "You don't understand, dude. This is happening. It's already here. You can't just go to another
Mm-hmm.
planet and live out in peace. It's not going to work for you." And sure
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
No, I think you're so right, Michael B. And I think this show beautifully illustrates like the question of, well, like how did people get so divided on issues? And it really
Mm-hmm.
sits you down and you see the perspective of the two sides of the same coin. Like you said, an excellent parallel or mirror of Andor.
And that's why information matters so much, right? From Cyril's worldview, like to your point, Michael, all he knows, he's justified. Like it is, he is holding to his ideals, and he's so frustrated at everyone else failing to do so.
Yeah.
Again, I can
Honestly,
certainly relate with that.
I think we sleep on that parallel because we're given Andor and his mother and Cyril and his mother for a reason there. Like those
Yeah.
are the only two direct parallels we have.
No, you're
And I
cooking.
don't think that
Yeah.
we spent a lot of time comparing Andor's mom to Cyril's mom
Let's do
and
it.
how they're
No, that's
responding
great.
to
Excellent.
like you
Yeah.
did something bad, you're now dealing with the consequences. How do I respond? How am I going to support you? How am I not going to support you? And the pep talks and things like that. I think it's interesting. I think the parallel breaks down a little bit, but
I don't know that
I
it
don't know.
does. I mean, I really don't, because I think it would be interesting. You talk about his fanaticism versus Andor's lack thereof, and I
Mhm.
wonder if and when Cyril has the opportunity to become disillusioned with his
Mhm.
ideals, then we'll know who he is and what's going on, right? Like everyone has that moment. We talked about this in Lost Stars at length when we were reading that book. Like everyone has their Sienna moment where it's like, what do you do when you cross the Rubicon? Like how do you handle it? Do you double
I think we
down to
strongly
maintain your
disagreed
frame?
about that particular point of that book, though.
Well, yeah, that tends to happen from time to time, regardless of the Rubicon or the character. But that's the point. Is once these things happen, how do you respond, and what happens afterward? And so with Cyril, it'll be very interesting to see in season 2 if he witnesses Gorman happen and he gets to know these people and
Yeah.
they're not terrorists or whatever, and then he sees the Empire use that same rhetoric, then he'll just be like, wait, maybe I was lied to, right? Especially
Yeah.
if Dedra doesn't ever care about him or whatever. I don't know. Again, we'll see how it
Senpai.
how it works out. Yeah, 100%.
No,
We will see. We will see.
Oh.
Travis is chiming in here. I want to see, because he's always got something good to say. Great points about what makes them different. Everyone we see Cassian with is people he's close with. Cyril's always dealing with people he doesn't know. Yeah, it's true. That shows the community. I mean, when you atomize yourself, community is everything. Having people to talk to. It's very easy to otherize folks when you're not plugged in. That if you are very atomized all by yourself, you don't know anybody from any of these isms or different ideologies, creed, race, whatever. Very easy to put them in boxes, and that's what he does.
I mean, the
But
big difference there, we don't know what happened to Cyril's dad or where he is, but like that big difference is Cyril is still a believer in the rule of law. Not even just the rule of law, but like the rules. The rules are the rules. I follow the rules.
mhm.
And he believes that those are just, and so just following the rules and enforcing the rules is still justice. Andor learned that very early on that is not how that works, and that's not true. And he experienced it firsthand that just because the rule is X or this is what the law says does not mean that that is justice. Does not mean it's right.
Cyril is
And he's
very much
definitely seen that.
operating as if the meritocracy that he thinks is in play is real, right? And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens if and when he's disabused of that. How you'd think that the finale would count for that, but again, he still thinks of these people as terrorists, and they all tried to kill him. So I'm willing to give him some slack on that too, for sure. But
Do you
yeah,
think?
next
Do you
season
think
it'll be
Cyril?
interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think Cyril in the next season stays a free agent as he is, or do you think that by saving Dedra, she puts in a good word for him and he like starts off kind of low level at ISB?
Could be. That could very well be. I mean, I have hope for him, because I think there's a real thing of however hard you're committed to something, you'll equally hardly uncommit once you become disabused of it, right? And so I that can happen. That can 100% happen. And so it'll be very interesting to see if at some point
the opposite case would be
something
he
gets
becomes
through.
a rebel. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, really. I mean, really. Like, think about it. To your point, if he is operating in good faith and then he learns that the rest of the world is not, right? Or the galaxy is not, what does he do, right? What does he do?
What if
Again,
he gets Nemec's manifesto?
Real.
How would
I'm
he respond to that? Be interesting.
fascinated to see. Fascinated to see. Absolutely. Or if, you know, he and Andor have a bottle episode where they're tucked on a planet somewhere and they both get to just like, we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah, dude, that would be very
That
cliche.
won't
I don't
happen.
feel like Tony Gilroy would do that, but
No, of course not. Of course not. That would
remember
be-
that time I hog tied you and took your gun?
I should have.
That was
killed
really
you.
funny. You know what? I
Tactics would
think it's
say I
interesting
should have
too.
killed you.
Kiss.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, and they're both
think
boys.
I missed this in the first of these episodes we were talking about with the Aldani episode, but the like one interaction we see with Mon Mothma, it's like the shorter period. She already mentions the Gormans, and we hear her a couple times. There's like snippets of her just kind of like talking in in the Senate, and she's talking about the Gormans and stuff. And it's so interesting that the groundwork for that was laid. And we already know that has to do with how she leaves eventually because of Rebels. So it's really good. It's really cool to see that follow through, even from Tony Gilroy, who ostensibly doesn't care about any of this. But he did enough homework and research.
No, that's
to,
the
like,
thing. Tony
fill it
Gilroy
in.
doesn't care about Star Wars canon. Tony
Sure.
Gilroy very clearly cares about all of this, right?
Yes, no,
like
that's
as
fair.
somebody who
He put
also
in the
cares
work for
about
his
all
material.
of this. Yeah, like when you see, to your point, him talking about the Gormans, I mean, he's talking about the same people who are talking about revolutionary issues and things like that overseas. I mean, you know, the lead ups, the thing that people always think history starts on the day you saw it on the newspaper, right? No, there's a lot of things that lead up to that. And so we've always heard about the Gorman massacre, but no, we're going to now get the chance to learn that there's, you know, there's embargoes, there's trade routes, there's, you know, maybe they're in some kind of an open air prison. Who knows? You know, you don't really know what's going on. Travis.
I really go ahead.
No, sorry. We'll get back to Travis. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. I really just like latched on to the familial plot with Mon Mothma because the politics stuff, it just made me feel so dumb. I remember turning to
Aw.
Michael being like, "Am I supposed to understand what's going on?" He's like, "Just let it happen."
He doesn't get it either.
Yeah. So picking up on like overarching things, missing a lot of details there. But
No, but again, that's the beauty of it, right? Like we talked about what brings everyone to the rebellion, and you know, I think it's so important. You know, Lieutenant Gorn. You know, Lieutenant Gorn is brought there because he got to see the person he loved get, you know, I think killed. You know, and he's fallen in love with this planet because of a personal connection, such that he's willing to, you know, he says I should be hung, you know, we'll hang you for this, and he's like, well, yeah, you know, I worked for you for 15 years, I deserve a lot worse. That hit hard, you know. Someone like Nemec would probably be like, hey man, you shouldn't have to experience something personally to have empathy for it, you know, it's kind of crazy, that sucks, we hate to see that, you know, that's a real privileged position to not have to think about it until it matters to you, and why didn't you marshal that empathy before, and all that stuff. At the end of the day, he did, and once he had that empathy, he sure did some good stuff with it, right? So, you know, a true leader of a rebellion, you know, like a Mon Mothma or a Luthen, it's like, I don't care how you got here. We're all working toward the same cause, and using every tool that you have toward defeating your enemy, right? Okay, at long last, I'll bring Travis back into this. I apologize, Travis. Nemec's manifesto may end up being plugged into K2SO and used for his programming.
That'd be wild.
That'd be cool. That would be really, really cool.
Probably won't happen. You're right. It's too cool.
hey, too cool doesn't apply to this show. It could happen for sure. But no, I mean, I love that he gets it. I love that Andor ends up reading it at the end. It's really, really cool. I also love that Nemec wanted Cassian to have it. It's so interesting. You know, it's easy to couch that in the sort of like plot needed it to happen, but why do we think he felt that Cassian needed it so much? I'm very curious. Do you think Nemec saw him as somebody who's adrift ideologically, and he was like, I need you to read this. You're
Doesn't he
the
say
one.
something to that end? He tried. I feel like he tried to give it to him, or he tried to talk to him about it anyway. On like the eve before
yeah,
the
he
event,
makes
when
the pitch a
Cassian
lot.
finally tells them all that, hey, I'm a mercenary. Like, it's clear Nemec feels hurt because he thought that he was among fellow believers there, but then I think he realizes that, like, no, I should be pitying this guy. This guy is actually worse off than us. We may be on a lost cause, but this guy has no cause, and that's
Yeah.
really sad. Maybe he needs to open his eyes and see that there's a cause worth having here.
Dude,
Either that,
like,
or Vel made it up. So, there's that.
I'm Nemec. Like, I identify with this dude so much. Like, when he's met with a new person, he always he empathizes to them, he talks to them, understands them, and then immediately, like, he's like, oh, this is new information, and then he adds a whole chapter to his book, of like how mercenaries will impact the revolution and all this sort of stuff. Like, that hit me so close to my heart. And then also he gets crushed in like day one of fighting, and I'm like, that's probably what will also happen to me if ever anything happens. Like, I'm not a fighter.
His
I'm
back,
a thinker.
his
I'm gonna
back
get
literally
crushed.
couldn't take the force of carrying the entire rebellion.
Exactly. Okay, Travis is back here in the kitchen. Yeah, that could work. That's the post-credit scene.
I was laughing. I was reading the synopsis of the episode, and what Andy was saying about not following the politics stuff. I just remember that Perrin, they're having this conversation about all these people that Perrin invited over, and basically was inviting some of her political enemies over.
Yeah, like slime
and
war
she makes
and
this
stuff.
comment. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, well, maybe you should invite some of the Gormans, since they all got their shipping lanes cut off yesterday." And she's just kind of throwing that out there. But his comment is like, "I don't know, I don't want to. It's all just so boring and sad." And I'm like, this is like Andy's take. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but it sounds boring and sad.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think Andy's take was, I don't know what's going on. Perrin,
Yeah.
I mean, Perrin's thing.
He
Again,
is
I know you're not saying they're the same thing. No, dude, that's so real. That is, again, trying to wake people up to things in the real world and whatever. I mean, it's just like, I don't want. Oh,
well,
God,
he's an opportunist too. Like, he 100% knows what's going on, knows it's not good, and knows that he's benefiting from it, and completely happy to be that way.
Correct.
And just like, why can't you just, keep your head down,
just shut
and
up.
enjoy, reap the benefits of being a intergalactic senator here, and just enjoy our nice house and go party? And like, why not?
Yep.
Why can't we just do this?
Snort space cocaine off of space baby changers and move on.
I mean, the book, again, the book does some work on establishing his character, and I like their tag team duo. I think it's pretty early on in the book, because Mon Mothma knows she's like 0% charismatic. Like, she's very good at arguing things, but nobody wants to listen to her because they just know who she is and don't care. Whereas Perrin's like the life of the party, and so she can. It's really cool to see them in a place where they're actually able to rely on one another and navigate things like that. And then it makes it even more sad to see them the way they are in this show.
Yeah. No, it's real. All right, let's do the finale, and then we can just sort of wrap up all of these threads. And
I think you wanted to talk about another episode, actually, because you want to talk about the space beach episode, maybe.
Oh no, yeah, well, yeah, I'm saying for this arc, yeah. So the Eye itself, aided by Gorn, the rebels infiltrate the garrison, posing as an escort squad for Commandant J-Hold Behaz. Hell of a name. Therm scissor punch ass name that is. J-Hold Behaz.
Jedi, I'm gonna die.
Oh my God. Commandant Cholesterol. Gorn's superior. They take Behaz's family as hostages and force him to give them access to the payroll vault. While loading the credits onto a freighter, they are discovered by Imperial forces. Tamarin and Gorn are killed in an ensuing firefight. Cinta is unable to make it onto the ship, so only Cassian, Skeen, Vel, and Nemec escape from Aldani. During takeoff, Nemec is crushed by an unsecured load of credits and suffers a severe injury. They land on the planet Fresno. Hilarious.
Really?
Forgot to commit that to memory. To treat Nemec's
I don't think they
injuries.
said it.
Fresno. That's good for trivia.
Space Fresno.
With Vel occupied looking after Nemec, Skeen proposes to Cassian that they flee and split the payroll between the two. Enraged, Cassian kills Skeen. He tells Vel what happened and informs her of his plans to take the amount he was promised as payment and leave. Vel gives Cassian Nemec's manifesto in accordance with Nemec's dying wishes, and then back on Coruscant, the ISB agents are gathered to formulate reprisals to the heist, where Luthen hears news of the theft and quietly celebrates. Okay. So anything particular that jumped out to you guys over the heist itself, the whole episode, all the action, anything like that you want to talk about to sort of conclude the Aldani arc? Michael, I'll start with you.
We did joke about that, like Commandant Has and the other guy are like the only Imperial officers we've ever seen that you and I could cosplay as. That was
100%.
We're like,
100%, yeah. It's
and
nice
then he
to get
dies of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Dang it! It was pretty. Funny.
I love
also,
that.
like,
I mean, it's just like, a man had to lift his finger for once in 50 years, and it literally killed him. It's pretty funny.
I loved his interaction at one point with his wife about his belt that shrank in stasis or whatever. And I'm just like, this is like, it's
Like,
great.
come
It's
on, dog.
great character building as like, here is a man who is completely and totally fooling himself and is just completely not
and dude,
not
the
self-aware in
Imperials-
any way whatsoever.
The Imperials talking to the Pilgrims as well, just I ate that all up. I mean, these
The Pilgrims
people
burn the.
Oh
they
yeah,
just burn
no,
their,
the Pilgrims are awesome.
they're
Like,
yeah.
and again, just the I deal with so many of these people. Like the audacity, oh man, the conversations over some of these dinners. I mean, it's just it's this, and it's gross. It's gross. Just the racism, the xenophobia, talking about their culture, just dismissive of, oh, it all stinks. They're so disgusting. Blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's wild to see. It's such a great character. You love to hate him. They did a great job with the governor. Love what happened to him. Couldn't happen to a better guy. But no, I really enjoyed the dialogue here, just the tactics of it all, right? Like the lieutenant being such a hard ass saying, you better take care of all this stuff, otherwise I'm going to make every single one of you be here. They're like, yes, sir, yes, sir. So they, he does his best to make it so that as few people have to die. And also it helps their tactics. He just, every bit of it, I loved it, top to bottom. How did you guys feel about the actual heist itself, using the family as hostages, talking about, did you think that they killed them? Did they kill them? Did Cinta kill them? How do we feel about all that?
I felt like it was pretty clear that they didn't. But...
Okay, no, yeah. All right. Well, shit. You guys said you didn't want me to do this by myself. I could talk about Andor for 2 hours. Don't worry. Oh my gosh. Okay. What do we think of the eye itself? I mean, that whole thing.
I was gonna say, obvious and not a hot take, but it was incredible to see on screen. Like, beautiful.
I feel like it's more visually stunning than most of the things we've gotten from the cinema. I mean, like, honestly, it's up there with any of the cinematography from, like Crate with The Last Jedi, some of that stuff. I mean, like, it was gorgeous. I didn't feel the budget restriction at all in that. I don't know. I really loved it. Again, just seeing the tactics of it all, I really enjoyed every bit of it. What's up?
Travis is pointing out that the show reminds us of ailments and bodily functions more than most projects. Um, like the time when Cinta and what's her name almost got peed on. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
They were like
Yeah.
ready to get ambushed, and the guy was just taking a leak. It was funny.
Yep. Oh, it's I love the realism, like talking about a refresher, talking about all these things that, you read about. Again, I don't need to know how that Han's going to go take a dump, but it's just it's like it does add a real degree of realism to these shows, and I think it was great. Okay, I mean, hey, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Anybody have anything they want to say about Aldani or the end of this arc? I'll start with you, Michael.
The amount of money that they took was insane. It was cool to see that they didn't even take the whole payroll. Like, they only took as much as they could get, and they still got away with 80 million credits. Assuming, like we do, that like an entire starship is in the realm of tens of thousands of credits. That's so much money. Assuming there's any consistency in the world, right?
Yeah.
And there may not be, but that's a lot.
It's
of
probably
money
like one credit is $1 more than likely.
No, I think credits are worth more than that in general, from what we've seen. But
you get a star. You get a star for that one, Travis. Oh my goodness.
No, I think, I mean, I kind of just have obvious things to say about the eye and about Nemec's death hitting really hard, and not seeing it coming. How fast Cassian shoots Skeen.
Yeah.
That was a shock for me. I was like, "Whoa!"
It's cool to see his brain working and coming to that decision, and then he just does it. You're like, yikes!
Damn. Yeah.
Like, he was probably right. That guy was probably going to shoot him in the back. Like, it was clear to see the progression of, oh yeah, we'll take it.
He wasn't a pilot.
We'll betray her, and then we'll do this, and then like Andor was going to end up killing this guy at some point.
Eventually. Like, Andor was going to get shot eventually if he sided with Skeen, but he did, to our knowledge, he wasn't a pilot, so he did actually need Andor. But no, yeah, I'm with you. I love it. I loved when you just act decisively, because again, in real life, you're not going to get to telegraph, I've made the decision, and you're on the wrong side of it, bucko. You've yeed your last haw. It's like, that's not how it works. So, yeah, no, it's good. It's good stuff. Really, really, really love this show so much. Okay, and I also
for
love.
Context.
Go ahead.
Sorry, for context, the canon cost of an Imperial I-class Star Destroyer is 150 million credits. So they were nearly half the cost of an entire Star Destroyer is what they sold, or what they stole.
Whoa. Okay. So why
That's a lot of money.
Why the F in Star Wars Outlaws am I spending 200 credits on a vibranium armar? That should be
expensive armor. You're getting
cents.
Ripped off. Inflation. This is post-war inflation, Ed.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. All right.
Actually,
well, let's
probably massive deflation, since they're no longer probably producing Imperial credits.
That's true. It's like
sorry, Andy.
No, I was laughing at Travis's
good
additional comment.
Stop.
Travis.
No, Ed, you were starting that analogy. You were like, I don't need to know that. I was like, oh, I'm setting up my joke for like, yes, I do need to know that. And then you said Han Solo taking a dump. I was like, no, he's right. I'm not giving him any crap for that one.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, so after the eye, we have the sort of reprisal, a very Empire Strikes Back moment, right? So it's called Announcement, Episode 7. This is one of the only ones, again, that is not part of... I think this is the only one that doesn't fall into a 3-arc, or at least a multi-episode arc. It sits right in the middle there, and then you have 2 episodes as the sort of finale.
I always felt like this... I felt like the like 3-episode arc thing broke down at this point. It didn't feel like this and the next 3 episodes were part of a singular arc because he doesn't break out of Narkina 5 at the 3rd episode from now. He doesn't break out in episode 9. He breaks out in like 10 or 11. So it didn't feel like it still followed the 3-episode arc.
Wait, are we talking about the same thing? So what I'm saying is 3 episodes, 1 episode, 3 episodes, 2 episodes. That's what I'm saying. This is just an extra one.
Yeah,
here,
I guess that's exactly what I'm saying.
Episodes.
I don't know that. I don't even know that 8, 9, and 10 are 3 episodes cohesively either, like as an arc.
Well, you're right that you have other stories
he breaks out
mingling, but the prison, I mean, it's kind of
because he doesn't escape until until the next one. He doesn't actually escape Narkina until episode 11.
Well, but he's out of the prison. I mean, it's like the fallout of. Yeah, they escape in One Way Out. They leave. It's the end of it with everybody swimming away from the damn thing.
Sure. It just doesn't. He hasn't quite escaped yet. They're still looking. He's still on the planet. But regardless, we're saying the same thing. This is the end. There's no more 3-episode arc as cleanly as it was before. I don't think we'll see that same thing in season 2 because season 2
there's a whole year in between.
Well, no, but like every day they have a release. They're doing 3 episodes at a time, which is going to be an interesting bit of work for us to keep up with.
Yeah, we probably just won't, to be honest with you, because
come on, get a shot.
Yeah, no, we will. We're gonna try. And you can bet your ass this will probably, bring the triumphant return of the hotel reaction too. This is more than likely that'll happen. We'll see.
You're gonna try to watch all 3 the day it comes out.
Come on, man.
That could be like 3 hours.
I need this.
3 hours of content.
I need this. Anyway, announcement. On Coruscant, Karn starts a new job at NIST. Wait, no, the Bureau of Standards.
He 100% does. It is the Bureau of Standards.
Colonel Wolf Yularen announces that the ISB has gained more surveillance and punitive authority, while Miro is challenged by Blevin for breaking protocol by accessing the Imperial data without authorization. She persuades her superiors of her work's value and is granted oversight of Ferrix. Again, girl boss. Luthen's assistant Clea instructs Vel to find and kill Cassian, since he knows Luthen's identity. Mon Mothma meets with Tay Kolma, an old friend and banker. Very interested to see if he pops up in that book as well. And asks him to keep her... What?
Sorry.
What? Okay.
You said
ask
if
him
he
to
pops
keep
up
her in the book. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. There must be a delay. It's fine. We're talking past each other. Asks him to help keep access to her family funds. Cassian returns to Ferrix to settle old debts, tie up loose ends, all that stuff, and learns that people blame him for the Imperial security crackdown. Very realistic, very natural. Loved it. The presence of stormtroopers on Ferrix reminds Cassian of how his adoptive father, Clem, which was a fun reveal, was murdered by Imperial clone troopers during a protest on Rick's Road. Cassian attempts to get Marva to leave Ferrix with him, but she decides to stay and oppose the increased Imperial presence, with one of the best line delivery moments in this whole damn show. Cassian travels to Miami, or Niamos, adopting the name Keith Gurgle. Sometime later, while walking towards a local store, he is unjustly arrested by a shore trooper and sentenced to 6 years imprisonment.
The shore trooper was Sam Witwer, wasn't it?
I believe so. I'm fairly certain that's the case. I think so. I know he's been a shore
listen,
trooper.
They did such a good job obfuscating his voice. I couldn't even tell rewatching it, but I thought that was the story that we have told.
So Cyril's stalking Dedra. That was interesting, just to see the degree to which he's just like, I don't effing care about you. I don't like you. Shut up. This is gross. Or maybe that's later. Maybe that's later and I'm jumping ahead. But yeah, he is. He's given freak energy for sure. I really loved seeing Yularen, dude. Like, Yularen in this show was
it's so sad.
Dark.
It was so harsh.
Dude, it's like, man, again, because we know him from the Clone Wars, and he's so great with the Jedi and all this stuff. And then you read the Thrawn books, he's in there. But again, he's always amongst friends. It's really cool to see the dark side of it. Because again, you hang out with some folks, they're nice to you, and it's a good time. But then it's like, hey, let's see what it's like to be in their crosshairs. And dude, Yularen in this is scary. Gone is all the folksy charm. It's not there.
I love that they don't even really. I don't think they say his name. I don't think
No,
they mention
you don't
who
have
he is.
to know
it's
who
it's
it
not
is.
unless
Yeah.
you. It's not until the credits that those of us who know, and then we're like, oh, that sucks, but awesome.
Yeah. And again, it's the same slap in the face that I kept getting all the way through Bad Batch of all the iconography that I love, all this stuff. Well, and again, not the Imperial. Okay, the mirror image always wrecks me, but not the Imperial stuff. But like, all the clones, the Republic, like those are the good guys. And then you see it and it's just like, no, they're not. And yeah, it's great. It's great. It's important. It's real. It's life. And it's sad. Yularen, I mean, this is a bad dude. He's the head of the Nazi Gestapo. He's got to get his hands dirty, and he very clearly was happy to.
I think we talked about this too, but the flashback showing how Clem died, or rather, which was sad too, because he was trying to save somebody from getting shot. He ends up captured and hung at the end of the street, and presumably, like in flashes, this is how Andor ended up with a prison record in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why the whole plot happens, because he doesn't want to be caught by Primor's security, and why he can't travel around freely because he has a criminal record.
Everything matters, and it's so beautiful, man. It's so cool. And again, the way they set things up that seem innocuous and not to matter. Like, I'm wondering who Keith Gergo is now at this point,
Right.
Like, is Keith Gergo someone important? I don't know, because Clem sure turned out to be pretty important. Very fascinating. Travis, stop. That would be a cameo that makes a lot of sense, brother.
I made this joke about the Naboo ship that took Grogu away in Mandalorian, that Beck, what's his name, takes him, and he takes him to a Naboo starfighter, or a Naboo like senatorial ship, and that's how Grogu gets off Coruscant during Order 66. I made this parallel that that could have been, it could have been Jar Jar, which also sort of makes sense.
That'd be cool. Give him something to do, with the Ahmed Best thing and all that too. Yeah.
But also could have been easily could have been Panaka at the time. And I don't know. I'm assuming Travis.
But Panaka becomes a Moff again. Like there's
he does, but like the cool parallels and the fact that Panaka stays around, and that Leia book where he like encounters Leia, and Leia wears Naboo clothes, and he like starts tripping because he's like, oh my gosh,
yes.
like you look like this person I used to know.
And then Saw's band of rebels, Benthic, I think it's Benthic Two Tubes, right?
Yeah.
Or one of the other ones, I can't remember. But yeah, so I to your point, Travis, I don't know if the timeline quite adds up or not, but I can't remember where that
he probably
was.
would be like, they established the Moffs pretty quick.
I thought it was Rebel Rising. I got it confused. But no, it's the young Leia book that happens, and Saw's band is there, and it could very well happen, or if it's not, it's the easiest of retcons. Definitely a lot easier than freaking Dark Disciples. So yeah, would not be surprised at all.
His name is Quarsh.
Panaka.
Quarsh.
Yeah. Remember too that
the main guy's name is the real life actor is Quarshi, right? I think something like that.
Hugh Quarshi.
Look it up. Yeah.
In the Mask of Fear book, Ed, they talk about like the regional governors being hired and how they're all like outside of leadership, and they're all friends. They're all the good old boys, and Panaka would have been one of those hired probably in the first batch of of regional governors. So he easily could have been there and
That's
could
why
easily
I'm
be
having
around.
a hard time. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I'm having a hard time reading that book, because I'm like, I should read some Star Wars to escape the real world. And I'm like, you read something like that, and I'm just like, all right, might as well just watch the news. I'm gonna be,
I
might
I
as well
mean
just-
I told you I'm like
You did.
I
You did.
have a hard time believing this book was written before everything that's going
Yeah.
on was written.
Yeah,
Because dang,
it just sucks that
predictive.
like the people that study fascism to write their books are appearing so clairvoyant for some fucking reason. It's sad. But we'll not make too much of a meal of that, because I still got to cook a little bit about the rest of this episode, and I want to save my my woke points to spend them later. But anyway, so tell me more about this episode. Talk about the ISB a little bit more. Getting to see Dedra being so competent was cool. Partagaz, I do appreciate that the bad guys are good at their jobs, because it makes it that much more satisfying when they get hit by pipe bombs. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Talk,
Cyril's
Michael B.
mom's name is Eddie.
Jesus. Oh, I should have Travis on this show. Screw you guys.
You should.
Just give Travis
Cyril's
a mic.
mom's first name is Eddie. This is
I would like to.
important
Yeah,
information.
Edie, right? Edie Karn.
I don't know. It's
Uh,
It's a classic Star Wars where it's a normal name with a double letter that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, Travis. Yes, it's you're exactly right, brother. Like, it's real,
Yeah.
and I need more of it. That was Bad Batch. That would be Panaka would be a great one, because he's live action, he's human, and he doesn't need to be a big reveal for most people, right? But for those who get it, the girls that get it, and the girls that don't have to. So it's easy. All right. What else we got? Do you guys want? Is there anything you guys want to talk about, or you want me to just just so we can just
PORB. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That was wild. That was like definitely the first. Well, like it was interesting to see Mothma's reaction to Aldani, which I think is in this episode, where she goes and she's like, "Was this us? Like, did I do this?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And he like doesn't tell her. No.
Mhm.
It's maybe he does tell her, but he won't
doesn't
tell
tell
Saw,
Saw.
which is also cool.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, someone else out there is really good.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm impressed that
couldn't
you
be
did
me.
this, Saw.
I wish it was
like
me.
the constant accusations from Luthen are great. Like the way he always flips it. He's always on the
Yeah.
aggressive. It's awesome.
Yeah, but the whole crackdown, the PORD thing, was so interesting, and then seeing Andor get wrapped up, and then doubling the sentence, tripling the sentence, and all that kind of stuff, and where it goes in the end is just wild.
Yeah, it is. And it's sad. It's sad because, again, while watching this, I read a news story of, people getting black bagged and sent away or deported or having green cards revoked. And, it's real, man. And the flimsiest justification to have half a society just be like, hell yeah, no, no rights, F them, screw it, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I know I try not to do this too much. I really do. But at some point, shit has to matter. Like it just has to matter. And if it doesn't, it might as well not ever. And I think every day we're getting there. And again, the opinions of this host do not reflect the opinions of the rest of the panelists and the broadcasting network thereof. But holy shit, man, it's scary. It's crazy, and it's a weird time. And I think this episode, particularly, I remember it being a little bit more of a transitory episode, but it hit a lot closer to home this time. Because again, man's just walking on the beach, and wrong place, wrong time, and he ends up in a slave labor camp on a different planet. And
but also just to point out the comedy here. the irony
Mhm.
of the fact that man did deserve to go to jail for stealing 80 million credits from the Empire, did actually conduct terrorism, and they didn't catch him for that. They caught him for loitering
Yeah,
and literally being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like that, I
100%.
remember both times watching is like, this is cinema. This is
It's funny, and
fantastic.
it's funny as hell too, because it ends up making it so that like he probably would have been caught for being Cassian Andor if he wasn't already in a slave labor camp for 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Like if he
Yeah,
wasn't there,
it's
he
actually what
probably
protected him from it. Protected him from both sides because
yeah,
Luthen's also out there trying to kill him at this point too.
absolutely, yeah. No,
Yeah.
Well,
it's
yeah.
very cool, the writing. Sorry,
Yeah.
Andy, go ahead.
No, you're good. You said 3 months, and it's like the 6 years that was never actually going to end, and all
Yeah.
that says about the prison system. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot. There's a lot to chew on with that whole arc and all of it, obviously.
Because I mean, the PORD basically like it eviscerated what semblance of due process remained in the Empire, right? It was just like, hey, we're in wartime now. We do what the hell we want, and it is what it is. Um, and
Is that
and the
what it was? I don't
scary
actually
thing,
know what the language of it was.
it's like they a public order resentencing directive, right? And then they also just like beefed up security across the galaxy as a response to Aldani. Um, again, it's take your real world parallels, right? Like you struck us, now we're going to hit you back 10 times harder, right? Wherever that applies. It's crazy. And, I think the wild thing about this, to bring it back to the show, is that's the plan for Luthen, right? It's like he knows this has
Oh
to
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Like he wants it. That's
Yeah.
why Mon Mothma, to your point, Michael, is like, oh my god, like people are gonna die, and Luthen's like, yeah, you just tuning in, like
Duh.
this is the show. And it sucks. It's why later his monologue hits so hard, because it is a sunless space inside his mind. Like he's a monster, and he has to be. You can't win a war with an army of Nemeks. Like it just won't happen. And it's just the brutal complexities of every bit of this.
Well,
Yeah,
give
God.
us some. Let us walk away with some hope, Ed. I'm feeling hopeless right now.
The hope is Nemec, man. I mean, like you
He
read
got
Nemec's
scorched,
manifesto.
dude.
No,
He
the
got
boy got
scorched.
scorched, but you can't. You can murder a freedom fighter if you can't murder freedom. You can murder a revolutionary. You can't murder a revolution. Like it's out there. These things are these pieces of wisdom exist, and they're real. And the idea is bigger. You can pull from any one of these. The harder you tighten your grip, the more slips through your fingers. Right? Authority is brittle. It breaks. It leaks. It's just true. It's just true. But it certainly sucks to be the one that gets caught under the boot. And there's no discounting that tragedy. I mean, my God, this show is so good at relaying that. Like when we'll get there next time when we talk about the prison escape, but like when someone dies in this show, they make a point of showing you their corpse way more often than
That's
normal in
why
Star Wars.
That's why Andy Serkis is not dead.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He's still alive. I hope justice for Kino. I hope we get to see him again. It would be really, really cool. But I'm
I
reminded
really
of
want one of the Narkina 5 Swim Club t-shirts.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Tony
take
Gilroy
any
was
and
wearing
all
those.
merch, man. I love it, but especially related to the show. But I want to say one thing about, like, I remember people talking. Did you guys ever watch that movie Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan one?
Yes,
Um,
I'm sorry. I watched it for Harry Styles. I don't remember a lot about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I remember the main critique of that movie being that there was no plot or very little plot, and it was hard to get in touch with any of the characters because there were so many characters, and they would just show up and then die, and it would move on, and it wasn't a very traditional story as these things normally go, right? You didn't get like a whole bunch of backstory, and you get to know them, and you follow them through a whole bunch of events. And I, truthfully, I mean, I think it was a masterstroke of just like, there are so many people who don't follow the hero's journey, right? You don't get to the end of the rainbow, but it still plays a role, right? Like Nemec is somebody who's a main character in every other show, but he gets squished in this one, right? Like so many of the people who help Andor escape the prison, right? They end up on the floor. Like it happens. And you know, I think of Rogue One, where Jyn is about to lead every single one of those soldiers to their deaths, and she gives them the speech of Saw Gerrera said, "A warrior, you know, something to the effect of can seize the day." Right? You take each chance until the chances are spent, and you have to believe that there's a greater cause or something else going on, because it's bigger than you. It is bigger than you. And you know, Andy, to your point, that's the hope, is just like, if you hold to your ideals and you keep doing what you're doing, it is bigger than you. Like it's stupid, but it's like they can't get all of us, you know what I mean? And again, to the extent that us are even in any peril is very little, but that's the point, is, you know, use what you can, use the tools available to you, and do what you can, and touch what you can, help who you can. But anyway, Star Wars, man, you know, spaceships are fun. Travis says we get an well, I'm trying to add it. Where's the button? Get an epilogue set after Rogue One with Mon Mothma putting a backup of K2SO into a new. What? Oh yeah, it would be a nice, hopeful note. Also, won't happen. Yeah, it would be cool if there were clones of K2. His consciousness was on a thumb drive you could put into different droids. Again, retaining the individuality. But
they did that with C-3PO in Rise of Skywalker, because you know R2 just keeps a backup of his buddy just in case.
Yep.
Can I point out that this episode is the last time we hear about Andor's sister?
Yeah, she just says like, don't keep looking.
Yeah, this is 7 episodes into the 12-episode season, and like the whole reason for the show happening in the first place, him looking for his sister. She's like, "Hey, stop doing that." He's like, "Okay," and then that's the end. We don't hear it anymore.
In fairness, he doesn't have much time for the rest of the show. Very interested to see,
but he doesn't.
If it comes
like
back
this
up.
episode, he clearly doesn't continue to go take his newfound freedom and money and go search for his sister. He goes to Space Miami and tries to go chill for a bit.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe you would too. You know,
as one does.
Man's loaded at this point, but
yeah, dude. Again, Marva. Like, we haven't had a lot of time to talk about Marva, but man, just the way she's a pillar of the community, and you know, to see everyone rally around her, even in the absence of Cassian, is so great.
I think what you mean is in spite of Cassian.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. No, it's marvelous, and her line.
Like Marva,
I mean,
more than Cassian.
It's true. It's clearly true. Yeah. But her line delivery of you know, he's like, I couldn't. I'm gonna be so worried about you, and she's like, that's just love. It's
also wild that she's the evil aunt from Harry Potter.
Dude, Fiona Shaw can act. Like, I've seen her in a few different things, and she always brings it. Like, she is a very impressive actor. It's real. Oh man, well this was a good one. A lot here, a lot to get through. Got a little real there. Sorry about that. Not too sorry. It is what it is. Don't think it'll get much worse than that though. The rest of it's pretty Star Warsy. So yeah, unless we all get sent to prisons in the next few weeks, and then in that case, it'll be hard to broadcast. So, but yeah, no, it is what it is. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Hope to see you back next week. Hope to see you back on Friday, but we'll see how it goes. Life is wild. But in any event, Andor Season 2 is coming, and we can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to watch it. And, yeah, love each and every one of y'all, and can't wait to see you next time. This is On Program. appreciate you. Hope you have a marvelous evening. God bless each and every one of y'all. We'll see you next time. This is On Program. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment telling me to rein it in. It's not so serious. Settle down, bucko. Let me know what you're thinking. Appreciate all you guys. Have a marvelous rest of your weekend.